effort. There, John Boyd plug. It's all in here.
Yeah, and that's perfect because I was about to ask you, what are some books that maybe you didn't have then? Because John wrote that a little bit later, of course. But what are some books that really made a difference for you, or now you would kind of recommend to friends or someone close to you who's like, how do I learn how to trade? This is the curriculum, the reading list that you would subscribe, assign them to read.
The number one book to see if this is even for you, or if you want to understand the concept, is Darvas's book,
Mhm.
How I Made 2 Million, because you can read it in a day. You can read it in 2 days, and it's a story. It's kind of entertaining to read. It's not a textbook, and it really gives you about 50% of what's in the Bible.
Yep.
But then after you knock that down and now you commit like this, now you realize, hey, this method agrees with my personality.
Yep.
The Mac Daddy is Reminiscences,
Mhm.
because now when I read this book, I'll never forget. I was waiting for my wife to come pick me up on like our third date. I was sitting on the couch, and I was like, wow, this is way. I just didn't have enough experience in the markets, like when he would talk about trends and
Right.
how a stock should act. I didn't have enough money. I had not enough experience. But in this book, I've probably read this book 10 times. If you read it and then you read it again a year later and you've been trading that for that year, you're going to go, wow, you're going to understand it better. Reminiscences is a detailed book of market tactics
Mhm.
that you will only understand after you've been in it and in the market. And then now when I read it again, I should probably read it soon. I'll remember, wow, that's so true.
Yep.
This is a never ending process. I'm better right now than I was 3 years ago.
Right.
And I'm certainly better than I was 40 years ago. Like, to be brutally honest, I blew up my account to 0 3 times. I didn't learn like Pavlov's dog. I touched that burner over and over again. But I can draw down from highs because I'm such a bull, but I don't draw down from cost. I just don't. If you draw down from highs, that's not fun, but you're in the game.
Right.
It's when you draw down from cost is when you get into trouble.
Right. And speaking of, mistakes, drawdowns, all that, and speaking of Darvas, I was lucky enough, that was the first book I ever read on the market because Dr. Wish's class, that was the first one. He's like, read this one. And to echo what you said, it's a story. You can read it in a night, and he makes every mistake. He shows his progression, going too much into fundamentals, not pairing that with technicals. Every mistake you can make, he shows in a story, and it's a super fun read. So definitely, if you ever read that,
Fun
yeah,
is yourself. It's emotion. When you're not watching, when you're traveling the world,
yep.
and you're getting telegrams, you're not watching the jiggles and the wiggles.
And then when he went closer to New York, he had a huge setback.
Who else did that? Livermore.
Livermore, yeah.
He went to New York and he came unhinged.
Yep.
We are our worst enemy. Look, everybody has access to all these books.
Yep.
Okay. This is one of my prides. I had a good year a couple of years ago, and John Boyd says you should reward yourself. So this is tape reading.